So we're here at this incredible place, Kahkow. We have Max. Max, how are you? And we have Damian, the chocolate maker. Now, some say he's actually made Willy Wonka who he is today, but we'll see. So, and Max is the man behind this whole operation, Kahkow, and what it stands for. And believe me when I tell you, not only from the story from the beginning all the way to the processed individual product, you are going to be amazed with what you're going to hear of today. And guys, thanks for having me down here.
Thank you for coming, Joe.
Thank you. We're wearing the hairnets because we're going into the factory. We're going to see things like grinders and mixers and tempered chocolate makers and all this crazy stuff that really just derives all this product into these incredible. Now, you might have thought that maybe this individual place has just got a couple things with chocolate, but you are totally wrong. I mean, they are very creative here with doing things with chocolate that you've never heard of before. They're taking the classics and reinventing them, and we're going to get a chance to feature all of those products on the show as well. But let's get started first. Guys, talk to me a little bit about sort of the concept, how this store came about to get my attention. You know, my wife knows she's been here so many times, probably your best customer. And then talk to me a little bit about, you know, going all the way to the farm. And then I'd love to get a tour on just on everything going on.
Yeah, of course.
In back of me here, and these guys will tell you better than I know, but it looks like some incredible varieties of chocolate here. If I go down a list from breakfast bar all the way to the Dominican products, the guys, take me through what I got here. I'm lost. I'm like all over the place with stuff.
Well, you know, this is our like feature library wall. It has the stuff that we make here in the store, but it also has chocolates featured from other makers as well. Makers that maybe are clients, or maybe not, or they just really respect the identity of single origin cacao. And so we've really kind of curated this wall, not just to represent our own stuff, but represent other people who we think are doing a really great job representing cacao on a global scale. The flavor of origin, the flavor of countries, varietals within a single country. And so we have a bit of both.
So everything is here, created by you guys here, handmade, right?
These two shelves are us, and then the rest is people that, once again, are either clients of a certain type, or just people we really respect and we really love what they do.
Absolutely.
We are a service provider basically for chocolate makers, and we want to highlight how a chocolate maker, what he can do, how to emphasize the features, the characteristics of the cacao. So we use this as a means to show chocolate makers what they can do with beans.
Gotcha. Now, take me through, we're going back to the DR, Dominican Republic. We're on a plane, we're going back. What do we see?
And that's very important, because introduction you said that I'm the man behind the concept, which is right. But there is a family behind the concept that owns the farms.
Okay, good. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the Rizzo family has been growing cacao since 1905. They've gotten now to the 5th generation of chocolate and cacao makers. And I just have brought them to be chocolate makers. But that chocolate making comes from an extension of the know-how as a cacao grower. It doesn't come from a business opportunity or an idea to become a chocolate maker. That's why we're saying that we're not competing with our clients. We're just showing that what we can do with all the variety of Dominican genotype, of Dominican flavor, of Dominican clones, and what they can do. We encourage them. And by the way, our business model is more about selling and explaining cacao than producing chocolate. Chocolate is like a collateral damage.
See, I like that. I've never been told that before, but you are 100% right. Now,
basically, my whole job description is collateral damage.
Yeah.
No, you're a flavor creator.
The flavor creator, exactly, the profile. So we got the farmers down there. They've been doing it since 1905. You come in and sort of take this on a broad, global brand, right? You're saying, listen, we got to go and tell about our story. I mean, you come into the facility, you see pictures of the fermentation process, and it's a live camera. This is stuff that nobody else is really doing. Not only that, the product is actually shipped here from the bean stage,
Exactly.
which we're going to get to that too. It's grinded and put through all the necessary process here to make the chocolate, which is something that not a lot of people do. I mean, let's face it. Big trucks pull up with a ready-made chocolate, they melt it down, and they do what they have to do. But this is, and there's not many facilities like this where you actually get it from the bean stage, and that's what impressed me, and I think that that's what everybody's going to want to see at home.
Absolutely.
So guys, why don't we step inside, go through some of the machines here, because a lot of people might not know what it really takes to make a chocolate bar, and there's a lot of work, right? I mean, how long does it take to ferment the cocoa beans?
Well, let's take it from the planting. Once you decide what variety you have to graft it. The tree has to be 3 months old once it's grafted. When you graft it, then you leave it in the greenhouse for 2 more months.
Now, what is grafted? What is grafted?
Graft is basically taking a gene from a known variety and implanting it into another rootstock so that it becomes a tree that copies the variety of the branch that you have grafted.
This is common farming for all
Absolutely.
tree commodity pears,
Unfortunately,
apples.
it's
not
not very,
sci-fi.
it's not very common for cacao. That's why cacao is known as a sort of vegetable reproduction, sexual reproduction, and sometimes you just don't know what the mixing comes from because it's a fly that does the mating. Here we're taking the fly away a little bit and we're saying, listen, I want you to mate with this variety so that I can have a certain breed, a certain variety. It's like in the wines, the Merlot, the Cabernets, and so forth. We're not mixing them together, but obliging them to reproduce themselves separately.
And that's what it is. It is a process, and I love the process.
So once you graft it, you have to wait 3 more years before you have a viable fruit. So it just is already 3.5. Then you harvest that, you take the seeds off, you ferment for 1 week, approximately. It will take from 2 to 6 days, and then 1 more week to dry them. Then you have a fermented cacao. You cannot use it. You have to leave it there a little bit.
Wow.
Like resting a steak once
Exactly.
it gets off the
Exactly.
grill, otherwise you have all the juices coming off, right? Okay. And then it gets to the point where it becomes material for Damian.
Nice.
And then the other part
And he
of
works
the
his magic.
happens.
Yeah, that's great. And we're going to see some of that magic right now, walking into the facility. Let's do it. So guys, what do we have here now? This is a very special infrared roaster,
Yep.
correct? With some ceramic plating in
There's a
it?
ceramic brick on the inside. It's gas heated. The heat of the gas flame heats up this ceramic brick. So one, it's more efficient in gas usage. But the really interesting part about this is that because it's infrared, you're getting simultaneous penetration into the center. It isn't purely heat coming from the outside in from surface contact.
Got it.
So what you're able to do is create more complete roasts. It's a little bit faster than other types of roasting, but you can do some very low, what we would consider very low fire roasts
Without being raw.
without being raw. In the industry, we refer to it as being green.
Oh, very
a
nice.
Green taste. So
Could we see what a whole cocoa bean looks like? And then what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is put this in this roaster. And how long does it roast for, guys?
about a half hour.
About a half hour. And you have to be really careful at this stage, right? Because it could over
There's
roast.
some magic there. It's not just a roasting, you turn it on and it works. No, there's a special curve of time and temperature. And by playing with this curve, you can emphasize certain flavors, get rid of others, do some more caramelization, Maillard reaction, and so forth. So it's
Such a process, it really is.
This is where serious art is. To put it into context, coffee roaster, right? You can Google coffee roaster and get an infinite amount of information. People sharing their graphs, their roasting curves, the temperatures, their times, the speed of the tumbler inside. You do the same with cacao. You find nothing. Like, a lot of this is proprietary on an industrial scale, largely. And so the roasters are quite similar. You know, this is a unique roaster. This company, Diedrich from Idaho, originally was a coffee roasting company and using infrared. It's not as common a technology, but there's a few companies around the world that make this. And it's a great adaptation for cacao because it allows us to really play with nuances and flavor. And this is where all of this that happened in fermentation, this is where it comes to a head. If you don't have good fermentation, good drying, good post-harvest practices, this will mean nothing for you. But if you do have very good, You use this to bring that to life. Because by the time you have a raw bean, it's like it's in stasis. It's quiet, it's sleeping. Now you're gonna wake it up.
It's a clean slate. And there are many misconceptions about roasting temperatures. You can read all sorts of stuff, ranging from 95 Celsius up to 160. You say, what is going on? The fact is that people are not measuring the same thing. Depending on the roaster, what you're picking up is a different temperature. Sometimes people calculate the temperature of the drum itself. Others is the air that is circulating inside, and some of the time it's the bean itself. So it really gets to a point where you want to know the roasting of the bean, not the temperature of the air or the drum.
Excellent.
So
Good
comment
information.
what people do. So they build these with a sample board. Okay? So while you're roasting, you can take out samples and look and gauge for yourself. And so to what Max was saying about where you set your parameters for judging the quality of your roast, people like to use an infrared thermometer and then hit the surface of the bean. Personally, I don't like to.
That won't tell you much.
That doesn't
because
say
you're
anything.
measuring the surface. What is happening is that the air in the center of the bean is migrating towards the surface. It's like us when we sweat. We don't get the temperature of the outside sun. That's why we're sweating. So as far as the bean still has some moisture inside, it will be giving it off in order to compensate and get to a sort of equilibrium and balance with the temperature. That's what you're looking for.
Interesting.
So what you do actually is a trial and error. You have come up with a fantastic roasting profile for the same beans, and you just have to check the curve at the end and see what is the best curve for a given type of beans.
Interesting.
And honestly, like anything, you can choose the parameters you're looking for. And then you use that as a benchmark, like using a compass. It's just the benchmark. And if you use that standard for yourself, whatever you create as the benchmark, then it gives you control. There are people who do great roasts in a deck oven. And there are people who do great roasts in lots of different systems. They're going to roast totally differently. And if you were to compare your data to theirs, it's like, oh, the temperatures are the same. Doesn't matter. There's other parameters, but if you know your system, you know what the benchmarks are, and you know what results they give, you can create anything you
Now,
want.
to give an example, there are some flavors that actually come from the metabolism of the tree. Like floral flavor, there's no way you can create that afterwards. It doesn't depend on fermentation. You can do nothing. You don't have the floral taste. So the floral taste comes from there. Now, what is the problem? Is that the floral taste is a very tiny, small molecule, very volatile. So if you're not careful enough, you can actually get rid of them along the process. And the roasting, for example, for the Nacional, which is a genotype with a strong floral flavor, has to be very delicate and obtrusive in order to keep the floral molecules there.
Got it.
That is where the science behind agriculture, fermentation, and industrial, the transformation part, must come together in order to get a good result.
I love it. And from this stage, we're going over to the grinder. Is that what you would call it? Where we take these already roasted beans, grind them up, and what are we looking to achieve here? Like a paste or?
Like a paste, we're essentially looking to break the cell, and in the process via heat, the friction plus applied heat, in our case we use some infrared lamps, melt the cocoa butter out.
Nice.
So it winds up self-lubricating. So in the industry we refer to that as cocoa liquor. And basically it is ground cocoa beans where the fat has liquefied and now it's in suspension. In terms of how fine that is, there's really no standard for that. You can make it very coarse, you can make it very not coarse. It really depends on what the final application is.
Exactly. And there's one more thing that people might not know, is that sugar does not dissolve into chocolate. It just has to be ground and be in a stable suspension together with the chocolate. That's why the grinding is so important.
So you're not tasting granules of sugar,
You're
right?
not tasting
Crystals.
granules of sugar, and the sugar is not separating because sugar doesn't dissolve. Sugar dissolves only in water, and there's no water inside chocolate. So you actually need to have that intimate contact of same size particles of chocolate, the solid part, then the fatty part, and the sugar. Otherwise, you have fat bloom or sugar bloom.
Sounds good. Let's head back over to that grinder and see what's next. Okay, so now we're here at the grinding stage, and this is some serious machinery here. Now you've heard it, you've seen it kind of grind. And I guess the whole point is that there would actually be chocolate beans in there, and they would be making it to a smooth paste, as the chocolate master alluded to before. So, Damiano, what do we got going on here? Now, how crucial is this stage? And you know, we talked about this and off camera about the infrared lights and the exhaust system. Take us through how important this machine is and how different it is from most.
I mean, this is very important, especially for us. I mean, we primarily use this as a pre-grinder, an initial grinding stage, and a mixer. So, you know, as Max said earlier, you know, chocolate is a suspension. And that suspension is non-fat particles, sugar, and non-fat cocoa particles inside the fat. And that fat is cocoa butter. And at room temperature, cocoa butter is solid. So the cocoa butter is living inside cell walls as a solid state. And so what we want to do is we want to break the cell walls, crush those nibs, those beans, and in the process apply heat, which will melt out the fat. So now we're crushing, we're doing particle reduction, we're releasing the fat, and it's liquefying. It becomes a self-lubricating system. And it becomes very, very fluid. Once we get to a certain degree of fluidity, then we can start adding other material, i.e. sugar, in our case. And that's where we get the beginning stages of our chocolate making. It's really possible with this machine to take it all the way to the end, but for us, we just use it as one stage in a multi-stage process.
This is a very old machine, actually called mélanger, which means mixer in French. It's not used anymore. It's not used any longer because it's absolutely non-efficient. It takes lots and lots of time and labor to make something that we love. Because it's a delicate grinding, it's a stone grinding, it's a traditional orthodox chocolate making, and it also adds a part of mixing and aerating the mixture while it works. So it gives really fantastic smooth results, and it's not aggressive on the
Okay, so we're not finished yet. Off to the 3-roll refinery, where we're going to start to almost complete this chocolate making process here at Kahkow in Brooklyn, New York. We're here with the 3-roll refiner. And as Damiano is pointing out, I keep saying this wrong, but he's the master that needs to get it right. But this is an incredible machine from what I've heard, and not too many chocolate makers have it, especially at this scale, right? It's an expensive machine, but people who do have it produce the utmost quality in chocolate making. What is this thing? Looks like a roller.
It's basically it. It's a roller. And in our case, we have 3 rolls. So you think about like a pasta maker, you know, it's the same thing. Except this has a very strong and intense motor attached to it. So it allows us to process more viscous material through these 3 rolls, where you're getting more and more particle reduction as you go. It works on basically 2 principles. Principle of compression and a principle of shear force. Each roll, going 1 to 3 in our case, will move in an opposite direction from the one before, and then slightly faster. So then what you have is a shear force, which is literally splitting, cracking your particles by size. So you're taking 1 particle, making 2. 2 becomes 4. So it's cracking it that way, and at the same time compressing it because of the pressure inside, the hydraulic pressing inside. We do water control. In the big industrial, there would be 5 of these stacked vertically. And this scale and model for an industrial plant would be basically a lab machine for developing new products. In our case, we're doing the full products. It offers a lot of versatility, a lot of opportunity to create consistency in grind that will later come up when the final product is made in terms of how it melts in the mouthfeel, which is very, very important. Different systems create different types of mouthfeel depending on how they're ground. The shape of the particle, and also what we refer to as the particle size distribution. Because even though this is a very high-tech, serious machine, it doesn't give you 100% one particle size. Even the ones that are digitally controlled, where you say, I want this and I want that, you're always going to get a curve.
So after all that, what do you do with that chocolate after it comes out? What phase does it go into now?
Well, now the finished product, you'll send in something that's liquid paste into this. What comes out at the other end is varying degrees of flake, depending on...
Like a flaky chocolate, like the chalking method, you would chalk,
So basically what you have there is all the chocolate, the cocoa butter in particular, has re-solidified because of the cooling and the compression. So it's actually quite dry. So now you have the suspension, but it's been compressed and it's cold. So now it's quite firm. So, and it's flaky. So after this, we want to crunch. You want to beat it up, heat it up, re-release all that liquid cocoa butter, and actually start homogenizing the suspension.
Another part of the magic, the conching.
And where does that happen?
By Mr. Lindt, by mistake, they say, in the late 1870s, 79 or something.
Did you know that the actual conch itself, the longitudinal conch, was actually developed by a Piedmontese inventor? Him and his son were looking at different ways of creating another type of grinding, and it was based off of the metate. And he was a failed inventor. He sold his model to a Swiss company who was a printmaker for doing in inks.
Wow.
And that person was the one that sold it to Lindt. Lindt wound up using it as another stage in grinding.
And Lindt sold it to his cousin, and he's still living out of it.
No kidding.
Oh, yes.
Well, I'm going to go on record by saying these two guys are going to invent something really good in the chocolate making process. They're very, very knowledgeable. Where do we go from here? We take
to the conch.
All right, let's head over.
To the other end of the room.
All right. Okay, so now we are here at another incredible device, an intricate part of the chocolate making process. Guys, what do we have?
This is a conch, and conching is a final stage chocolate conditioning process. There's a lot of things actually going on here. There's a little bit of mystery about what 100% goes on.
Science has not explained yet what exactly goes on here. But
Really?
we do know that it is necessary. Basically here you're controlling a few things. Energy, temperature, time, and oxygen. And the combination of these, in a strange manner, really change the final character of the chocolate.
And this is how you get a more smooth texture?
Exactly, it smooths it out.
Okay,
what comes
smooths
off the
it out.
refiner is dry flake. And then how it has to be heated and massaged to release the fat and make sure you have an even distribution of fat to non-fat particles to create that smooth mouthfeel. At the same time, it's also taking away the last 2-3% of moisture that might be residual left over from the roasting. You want to remove that. Along with that goes some low-weight volatile compounds, certain acidic compounds that maybe you don't want, helping to massage the acidic profile a little bit as you continue to go. Certain types of conches will actually help change the shape of the particles, and traditional longitudinal conches they're not used too often anymore, but they do actually create a roundness which also affects mouthfeel. Different conches do it in different ways. There's actually a number of different styles of conches that they've been working.
And how long does it need to sit in here for?
Our process can be anywhere from 24 to 72 hours.
Wow.
That's why people
Wow,
are saying,
almost 3 days?
Why bean-to-bar chocolate is so expensive? Well, that machine takes 24 hours. This machine takes up to 72 hours. So it's absolutely inefficient. And we sacrifice efficiency on flavor, taste, and smell.
Yeah, we're making real chocolate here, and this shows it. I mean, we're from the bean stage all the way to the final stage. Now, what's this product here that we
Finished
show?
chocolate.
This is the finished chocolate that we're going to walk over there now, folks. Now, look at that. I could stick my cup underneath there and just get busy. Maybe even take a swim. This looks unbelievable. This is what real, authentic chocolate making is all about. And this is why it's so important to do this show, because I wanted to show everybody really what it takes. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time, and a lot of experience to make a bar of chocolate like this. Now that we got a really good idea of this chocolate making process, let's meet the rest of the staff, taste some chocolate, and see what makes this place special on Taste This.
Kahkow is not just a chocolate shop. We also distribute ingredients to bean-to-bar chocolate makers who are searching for distinctive flavor profiles. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and all the social media, and visit our website for more, kahkow.com.
So here we're at the final stage of this, which is also my favorite part, which is tasting. And really, we have a lot of things here, a lot of percentages. We have 68% cacao, 65, 90, and we'll kind of go over that in just a moment here. But let's talk about the mascot, because there's a great story and a great cause behind this here. Max, can you explain it to me a little bit?
That is our mascot, it's Spotty. But I think that the main character here is missing. It's Nadia. Nadia is our boss. Nadia is the 5th generation from the Rizek family. She's getting married soon.
Shout out to Nadia. Congratulations on your marriage.
We miss you. And the second one perhaps is Spotty, because it's like a granddaughter of the Rizek family. But I'll let Daisy has been with me for many years. She's super knowledgeable. She is in the certification and marketing side.
Got it. So you don't have you might have a hard job, but this product is so good it's an easy sell.
It's
right?
a sweet job.
It's a sweet job.
pretty
That's what
sweet
I'm looking
job.
for. Exactly.
It's not boring to come into work. Every day is a new experience, and we're working with some of the best products coming from the Dominican Republic, and so happy to see everything represented coming from our farms, now created and packaged in such lovely products and creations.
Well, that's where the story is. I mean, even coming over here, I thought, okay, interesting chocolate, very good chocolate. Probably same story. I definitely got more than what I thought I was going to out of a show. I mean, what I got was the science, and I learned a lot on this show, especially from someone like Damiano, Max, with their knowledge is just tremendous from the state of the bean. Who thought that this much effort was put into making chocolate? But I guess if you want a product as good as this, that's what you have to do. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking it from the farming stage, which is, talking about genetics and a 3-year program to make sure that you get a product like this. I mean, it's a lot of patience, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of expertise. And we're seeing the final product here, folks, all the way to the chocolate chip cookie. But let's take this, because this is vegan. This is like a spin on a hazelnut kind of chocolate, right? But we have macadamia nuts in this. Is this what this? And this is a spread. This is a spread that can be put on breads and even on dessert. Take a look at this, because you may find it in the retail store soon. If we're not in the retail stores right now, how can we get this?
No, webpage.
The webpage.
Kahkow.com. Kahkow.
Yes, you can visit our website to see our entire range of products and to learn more about our teams, our farms, the work we do with cacao farmers as well in the Dominican Republic, about our certifications and our commitments.
And you ship all over the United States.
Yes, we have a warehouse based in New York City, and there's also our beautiful store where customers are welcome to see the entire process as Damien takes the beans and creates these delicious creations.
Great, awesome. Could you guys?
The mascot.
Yeah, the mascot.
So Potty is our mascot.
What's his name? Her name?
Potty.
Potty.
Like Cocoa Pop.
Oh, the pod. Okay.
A small pot.
All right.
So it's part of one of the programs of our nonprofit foundation, which was founded for providing technical assistance to cacao farmers in the Dominican Republic. And Potty is one of the projects that we have. It's completely handcrafted by the wives of these cacao farmers. And all of the proceeds that we get from the potties are sent back to these.
Oh, that's
amazing-
fabulous.
But he's
That's
famous.
fabulous.
He's in Europe. He's
everywhere.
And now he's on Taste
He's
This.
in museums everywhere, and we encourage all of our customers to buy Potty because we need those proceeds for those.
Yes,
wives
we
and
do.
children.
Please help out a great cause.
One of the great things I love about it, and I was raised by a single mom.
That's
So there's a
great.
degree of their own values separate from. And in today's day and age, women need more opportunities for that.
That's
Especially
great.
more
I think
rural
that's great.
and
They're
communities.
basically all seamstresses, and we use the Potty proceeds to finance the place where they are and new sewing machines for them and material.
That's a
And
great
coming
story.
soon, we will have the Potty masks.
Very nice.
Yes.
You can't forget about that.
Yes.
It's very important to point out that making cacao and chocolate is a tremendous effort. So it's not a one-man show. You cannot do
Definitely
it.
not.
You
Definitely
need a family
not.
tradition. You have to be thankful to the executive finance and believing and being behind us. You have to be thankful for these incredible people, Alex, Jamie.
Yeah, and it just doesn't stop, right? It's one
We're all
after the other.
chocolate making chocolate taste. Alex,
Chocolate by
for
heart.
example, he's the one who makes the Harlequin vase, which is a fantastic display of craftsmanship.
Nice.
I'll show you later.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. All right. Oh man, what's the secret to a good chocolate chip cookie? Take a look at the amount of chocolate that's put in there. There's probably more chocolate than there is mix, but this is great stuff. Tell me about the chocolate chip cookie while I dive in.
Myself personally, I think the chocolate chip cookie is probably the greatest American pastry out of all like the traditional American stuff. And so obviously we're here in New York. It's you have to have a chocolate chip
Wow.
cookie. And one of the things that I was really keen on at the very beginning is, we wanted to make our own chocolate. We're doing our own chocolate for bars, but why not for baking as well? And this is the third iteration and formulation of this new batch of chocolate, and it's designed specifically for baking purposes. So if you're making cookies, you're making brownies, you're making anything, This chocolate, it's got a nice fluidity, it's not overly runny, good roast. It has some really classic Dominican qualities, a little bit of fruit in there.
Wow.
And it really just kind of brings a lot together. We just reformatted it so that it's now in these nice little half-gram buttons, so it's really easy
Yeah,
to use.
they sit just perfectly on there.
And if you want to take a shortcut, this is already prepared.
Which I want to talk about the brownie mix, because I know everybody loves brownies. This brownie mix is, and again, I will try this in the studio, but when I saw this, I said, great, this chocolate product in a brownie form, with these guys at the helm, you can't go wrong. But I think we got what we need here, folks. I mean, thank you for inviting me here, and I guess at some point, hopefully we'll head over to the Dominican Republic and get that field with some nice drones and really go through the whole process there. We're looking forward to that at some point. But thank you for having me here. If you want to learn more about this incredible product, it's Kahkow.com, ladies and gentlemen. Don't walk or take a look at it over the weekend. Stop what you're doing now. Take a look at these wonderful folks. Support their cause. And remember, there are no rules in cooking. Taste this.